The girl could see anyone's past. When the neighbors came to ask about the missing child, they were shocked by what she told them. At first glance, Nastya seemed like an ordinary 17-year-old girl. She lived with her parents in a small village surrounded by dense forests and old wooden houses. Their home stood at the edge of the village, near a stream that led into vast, endless fields. Life in the village moved slowly and peacefully, the hum of tractors echoed in the distance, and at night, the street lamps lit up the worn, cozy streets. Nastya loved her village, but often dreamed of the future. Since childhood, she imagined helping people, being of service, and above all, being loved. Her desire to do good was sincere, but her unusual gift made others uneasy. At times, she wondered why she had been given such a power. Nastya's dreams were simple but full of light. She wanted to become a doctor to heal the sick, or a teacher to guide children. She longed to be loved for her kind heart, not avoided because of strange rumors whispered around the village. Yet recently, her dreams had begun to mix with deeper, more personal feelings. She had fallen in love. Maxim, her classmate, was her opposite, tall, confident, with a warm smile. He was effortlessly sociable. Nastya often watched him from a distance, at school, during village festivals, or as he rode past her house on his bike. Deep down, she knew her feelings would likely go unanswered. Maxim seemed too far away, too perfect. Just seeing his smile or hearing his laughter was enough. But still, she hoped that one day, he would notice her. Each morning, as she got ready for school, Nastya imagined talking to him. She even practiced how to start a conversation. But once in class, it became harder. Maxim was always surrounded by friends. Nastya sat alone, dreaming of changing lives and growing closer to him. Her dreams gave her the strength to keep going. But reality was far from her fantasies. Her classmates avoided her, refusing to make eye contact or speak with her. Even when teachers asked them to split into groups, Nastya was often left out. The rumors were to blame. Some said she could heal people just by looking at them. Others claimed she could see the future or speak with spirits. Another version simply called her crazy. No one knew where these stories came from, but in a small village, whispers grew fast. She whispers to herself. Must be casting spells. Nonsense, a friend would say, yet still glance at her with unease. Then there was old Nadia, a reclusive woman who lived deep in the forest in a crooked house. She avoided people, and they avoided her. Only Nastya visited her regularly. She loved hearing the old woman's stories, about the village's past, about herbs, strange signs in nature, and the importance of kindness, even when others repaid it with cruelty. Nadia never spoke much about her own past, but it was clear that something had once driven her into the woods. Nastya had first met her by accident at the age of 10, when some kids dared her to approach the witch's house. She wasn't afraid. She stepped forward, saw a thoughtful old woman in the window, and felt an inexplicable pull. That day marked the beginning of her visits. Nadia didn't look at her like a child, but as though she knew something deeper. Over the years, Nadia became Nastya's guide and confidant. She came to her when she needed silence or when her thoughts overwhelmed her. Nadia once told her, "A gift is not always a blessing, but neither is it a curse. It depends on how you use it." "Can I give it away?" Nastya asked once. "You could," Nadia said thoughtfully. "But ask yourself, why would you want to? To be like everyone else? Are you sure that's what you really want?" "I just want people not to be afraid of me," Nastya whispered. Nadia gave her a gentle smile. "First, you must accept yourself. In time, your gift will serve you." Nastya carried those words with her every time she returned from the forest. Though the weight on her chest remained, her heart felt lighter. Nadia herself had lived a hard life. She once admitted she couldn't save someone important to her. The loss still lingered in her eyes. "Do you think it's easy for me?" she said one evening at sunset. I live because I know my gift still matters. If I abandon it, who will help these people? Nastya listened in silence, realizing her own path was just beginning, and that it might mirror Nadia's in more ways than one. One morning, a rusty old van arrived in the village, loaded with furniture. Nastya spotted it from the window as she drank tea. It stopped near an abandoned house on the next street. "Mom, I think we have new neighbors," she called out. "Really? We should find out who they are," her mother replied. Outside, Nastya saw a thin, tired-looking woman holding the hand of a tense young boy. Something about his face caught Nastya's attention. He was withdrawn, but his eyes sparkled with life. She thought she might want to befriend him. But that hope quickly faded. People usually avoided her, and he probably would too. A few days later, Nastya saw them again at the local store. The boy, now she knew his name was Alyosha, nodded politely but quickly looked away. She wanted to speak to him but hesitated. That evening over dinner, she asked, "Do you know anything about our new neighbors?" Her father replied, "The woman's name is Maria. She left her husband and brought the boy here. No one knows why." Nastya was intrigued. She sensed Maria was keeping her distance from everyone. One evening, as she walked home from Nadia's, she heard strange sounds. The village was quiet, dogs barking faintly in the distance. She stepped inside, took off her boots, and saw her father sitting at the table, staring blankly. "Dad, what's wrong?" she asked. "Something's happened," he sighed. "Maria's boy, he drowned." Nastya froze. "What? How? Where?" "By the river. No one knows what happened. They say he went there alone. But he couldn't swim. Maria's in shock. Everyone says he would never go there by himself." No one spoke during dinner. Her mother came home late, eyes red from crying. "I was with Maria," she said quietly. "She doesn't believe it was an accident. She says Alyosha would never have gone alone." "What about the police?" Nastya asked. "They think it was just a tragedy," her mother replied. But Nastya wasn't convinced. She felt there was more to the story, an intuition, a whisper from deep within. The funeral was quiet. Nastya stood off to the side with her mother. Maria looked broken, shaking, her eyes hollow. When the casket was lowered, she collapsed, her screams slicing through the silence. Nastya couldn't look away. She felt guilty, for not reaching out to Alyosha when she had the chance. Later, they brought food to Maria's home. It was chaos. Maria sat on the floor, clutching a pillow, her face sleepless and empty. When she saw Nastya, something changed. She suddenly stood, dropping the pillow. "Nastya, you have to help me." "How?" Nastya asked. "You can speak to spirits." "I know you can. You have to talk to Alyosha. I need to know what happened." "I can't, not yet," Nastya said softly. "It has to be 40 days. Maria clutched her head. "How can I live 40 days without knowing the truth?" "I promise I'll help," said Nastya. "When the time comes." 40 days later, Maria came to their house early in the morning, her face pale and hollow. "You promised," she said hoarsely. "I'm ready." Nastya led her to the living room. Her mother watched silently but didn't interfere. "Sit down. Close your eyes. Try not to think of anything dark." Nastya placed her hands on Maria's shoulders and began to whisper. Her voice was steady, like a prayer. Silence filled the room. Minutes passed. Then, the room darkened slightly. Maria's breathing quickened. "He's here," Nastya whispered. Maria opened her eyes. In the corner, a faint figure appeared. It was Alyosha. He looked the same as before, same jacket, same smile, but sadness filled his eyes. "Mom," he said. His voice was clear. Maria covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Why? What happened? I would never go to the river alone, he said. It was Dad. Maria froze. Mikhail. He was here. Yes. He found me that day. Said he wanted to take me to the city. I refused. He got angry, started yelling. He hit me, Mom. Then he tried to drag me into the car. I ran. I fell hard. He knew I wouldn't survive. So he took me to the river, to make it look like an accident. Maria wept, clenching her fists. How can I prove it was him? His lighter, Alyosha said. He dropped it under our table. His fingerprints are still on it. And neighbor Ivan saw him that day. He asked for directions to our house. Nastya watched silently as Alyosha's spirit faded, leaving only light and silence. Now Maria knew the truth. The day after speaking to Alyosha's spirit, Maria gathered her strength and went to the local police station. She looked exhausted, but a fire burned in her eyes. She wanted justice. The small rural station sat in the town center. A clock ticked loudly in the corner. An officer flipped through papers lazily when Maria walked in. He glanced up over his glasses with a bored look. How can I help you? He asked. I'd like to file a report, Maria said firmly. He set the papers aside and gestured for her to sit. Go ahead. Maria took a deep breath and began. My son Alyosha, he didn't drown by accident. It was my ex-husband, Mikhail. The officer frowned. That's a serious accusation. The report says it was an accident. I'm certain, Maria said. And I have proof. He folded his arms, skeptical. What proof? She told him about the lighter Mikhail had dropped under the table that day. She described how his fingerprints would still be on it. She also mentioned neighbor Ivan, who had seen Mikhail asking for directions. I found the lighter, she added. It's still in the house. The officer scratched his head and sighed. Look, he said, I don't know what you've heard, but this might not be enough. And Ivan, he's not the most reliable witness. I won't give up, Maria said firmly. Check the fingerprints. Talk to Ivan. He hesitated, then walked to a cabinet. All right. I'll file the report. But no promises. Maria watched as he slowly filled out the paperwork. Her patience wore thin, but she knew she had to stay calm. Days later, the police tested the lighter. At first, they were doubtful. But when forensics confirmed the fingerprints belonged to Mikhail, everything changed. It was the key evidence. Shortly after, Ivan gave an official statement. The elderly man with the gray beard spoke slowly but clearly. Yes, I saw him. He asked me how to get to Maria's house. Wanted to know if she had moved. I showed him. Didn't think much of it. His words, combined with the fingerprint evidence, pushed the case forward. Police began gathering materials for a criminal investigation. For the first time in a long while, Maria felt a spark of hope. She knew nothing could bring her son back, but she could at least fight for the truth. The truth began to surface. In the days that followed, the village changed. Rumors about Mikhail's involvement spread quickly. People whispered, exchanging uneasy glances. He disappears for years, and now this, some murmured. Maria stayed home, avoiding attention. But she didn't need to go anywhere. It was enough to know that justice was near. One morning, a police car pulled up outside Maria's house. She happened to look out the window and saw Mikhail being led out of the car. He looked disheveled but tried to appear composed. This is a mistake, he shouted. I didn't do anything. But his words rang hollow. Even those who had once doubted Maria didn't speak in his defense. Maria watched from the window. She didn't go outside. Her face was hard, her eyes full of resolve. When the officers finally drove away with Mikhail in custody, she stepped away from the window and quietly returned to her home. Meanwhile, Nastya sat in her room, thinking about everything that had happened. Her emotions were tangled: relief, sorrow, fear, and a strange sense of purpose. She had helped uncover the truth. And though her path remained uncertain, one thing was now clear. Her gift had meaning.
Thank you for being with me in this story. If you enjoyed it, support the video with a like and a subscription. See you in new stories.